Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor is under police investigation, confined to a cottage on the Sandringham estate, and now facing what might be the most humiliating headline of all. Just 200 yards from his front door, huge piles of manure have been dumped on the land outside his temporary home. This happened shortly before he moved in. The smell, according to locals, is noticeable. And given the circumstances surrounding his arrest, the symbolism has not gone unnoticed. Let's walk through what we actually know. Andrew was arrested last week on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He spent 11 hours in custody on his 66th birthday. That detail alone ensured maximum headlines. According to reports, the suspicion relates to allegations that, during his time as the United Kingdom's trade envoy between 2001 and 2011, he allegedly shared sensitive information with Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein, as you know, died in 2019 while awaiting trial in the United States. Police have confirmed the investigation is ongoing. Andrew has not been charged. That is important to state clearly. After leaving Aylsham Police Station in Norfolk, photographed slouching in the back of a car, he retreated to Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate. Since then, there have been no confirmed public sightings. Wood Farm is not Royal Lodge. It is a 5-bedroom farmhouse, far more modest than the 30-room property Andrew occupied for years in Windsor. It is also the house where Prince Philip spent much of his retirement and his final days. Sandringham itself is privately owned by King Charles III, not held in trust for the nation. Now to the manure. Around 10 days before Andrew arrived at Wood Farm, 3 workers were seen unloading muck from a tractor and trailer onto estate land roughly 200 yards from the house. Reports suggest the manure was being used to help new trees flourish. Anyone familiar with rural estates will tell you this is standard practice. Manure enriches soil. It is common agricultural management. But the timing, given Andrew's situation, has prompted commentary. One local resident told the Daily Mail, "There has been a whiff of scandal around Andrew for a long time, so it is fitting that he should be exposed to the smells of the countryside." Another reportedly remarked that because the king privately owns the estate, he is ultimately responsible for what happens there, adding, "Maybe he is trying to tell him something." There is nothing to outright suggest that the dumping was anything other than routine estate maintenance. Still, the optics are striking, and one may say quite fitting for the situation. A man under investigation, confined to a rural property, with large piles of manure visible not far from his door. How far he's fallen. And here is where the story becomes even more restrictive. According to the newspaper, Andrew has reportedly been subjected to new strict rules at Wood Farm. It has been reported he is not allowed to go horse riding. That might sound minor, but for Andrew, it is significant. While living at Royal Lodge, he rode frequently and was often photographed doing so. Sources say riding now would be considered a bad look during an active police probe. Further reports claim he cannot leave the Sandringham estate without permission and a chaperone. Any visitors must allegedly be approved in advance. There have been no sightings of him since he arrived back at the cottage. So picture the situation. A former senior working royal, once representing British trade interests abroad, now reportedly unable to leave a farmhouse without clearance. Unable to ride, unable to host freely, and with fertiliser being spread just down the lane. Meanwhile, Thames Valley Police confirmed earlier this week that searches at Andrew's former residence, Royal Lodge, had concluded after several days. They have not detailed what was examined. They have simply said inquiries continue. At the same time, ministers have agreed to release files related to Andrew's appointment and tenure as trade envoy. However, MPs were told that certain material cannot be published until police are satisfied it will not interfere with their investigation. In the House of Commons, Trade Minister Sir Chris Bryant delivered remarks that were unusually blunt. He described Andrew as a rude, arrogant, and entitled man, and a man on a constant self-aggrandizing and self-enriching hustle. He also said Andrew could not distinguish between the public interest, which he said he served, and his own private interest. Sir Chris went further, stating, "Let me be clear from the outset. We support this motion today. Frankly, it is the least we owe the victims of the horrific abuse that was perpetrated by Jeffrey Epstein and others. The abuse that was enabled, aided, and abetted by a very extensive group of arrogant, entitled, and often very wealthy individuals in this country and elsewhere. It's not just the people who participated in the abuse. It's the many, many more who turned a blind eye out of greed, familiarity, or deference." Those comments are on the official parliamentary record. They underline the seriousness of the atmosphere surrounding Andrew right now. The manure itself may be agricultural routine. Estates like Sandringham regularly plant trees and maintain land. But because of the circumstances, it has become part of the story. Andrew has not spoken publicly. There has been no statement from him since the arrest. The palace has limited its remarks to standard references to ongoing legal processes. The police investigation continues. In the midst of all this, there is another development that royal watchers are now focused on. A senior palace official, Richard Benyon, who is the Lord Chamberlain of the royal household, was reported to have made a rare visit to Andrew at Wood Farm recently. The meeting reportedly lasted around 2 hours and has fueled speculation that discussions are underway about his possible removal from the British line of succession. At the moment, Andrew remains 8th in that line, but reports suggest that discussions within government and the palace are intensifying over whether his ongoing legal troubles mean he should be taken out of the succession entirely. Another consequence of the scandal is the wider impact on Andrew's family, particularly his daughters. Reports have emerged that both Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie have significantly reduced their public appearances, with insiders saying their reputations have been affected by association with their father's controversies. It is said that their social engagements and professional roles are now uncertain, and that decisions such as barring them from significant events like Royal Ascot reflect a broader effort to distance them from the fallout. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Manure story is simply unfortunate timing? Or does it add to the sense of isolation surrounding Andrew right now? And what do you make of the reported restrictions at Sandringham? Let me know your thoughts below. If you follow royal affairs closely and want detailed, straightforward updates as events unfold, make sure you are subscribed. There is clearly more to come in this story.